Like I was listening to Sean Hannity yesterday.
Oh, were you?
I dip in because I'm just curious. Like I'm trying to get a sense of like what is the conversation they're having. Because I'm a masochist, but I'm also genuinely curious. And he had on Sidney Powell for like,
oh God,
45 minutes.
Favorite person.
And
I
it's
love
just,
her.
it is.
She's a queen.
And I'm just like, what are they doing? Like, where does this go? And doesn't it hurt? Doesn't it hurt in Georgia? I mean, here is Lou Dobbs on Monday. Like, I don't think these people freelance. I think like if there was if anybody had an issue with what Lou Dobbs was doing or Sean Hannity doing, you know, in terms of the Trump people, they would say like, dude, just chill a little bit. Now I know they've made $170 million
on this grift. Yeah.
Which one?
Trump campaign.
Oh, Trump campaign. Got it.
And it's not even the campaign. Apparently, when you sign up to support his challenges to the vote, they tell you in small print, 75% of it goes into his new PAC.
Save America.
Save America, which is, and this is the way it'll work, folks. The PAC will fly Trump and his family around the country, put them up in the nicest hotels. He will do an event wherever he's got any type of business work. So basically, he's got a lifetime free travel to do any type of business or any type of pleasure, whatever it is. All he's got to do is walk over and give a talk to somebody, say hi at the airport, and that's it. And that's the way some of these PAC scams work.
Yeah.
And you can be sure this is the scammiest of these. So
yes, 75% go to the PAC, 25% goes to the RNC. Only when you hit the $5,000 threshold.
You need to give $5,001 before that $1 goes to the legal defense fund
that Sidney Powell's
what I find so interesting though is they're transparent about this. They don't have to be. The Democrats aren't when they do it.
Well, that's true. They're sort of transparent. They also know that they've got a lot of rubes who are doing this. Here is, and then they have a whole ocean of people like Lou Dobbs who are pushing this narrative on cable television.
President Trump says he will do everything he can to fight election fraud. Here he is talking about election fraud yesterday on Fox News.
I'm going to use 125% of my energy. There was tremendous cheating here. Boxes were brought in. The mail-in vote is a disaster. And by the way, if Republicans allow it to happen, you'll never have another Republican elected in the history of this country.
I just realized it's the second time we've played that clip. Why he says 125%. Because he's thinking, I'm making 75% on every dollar that's coming in. What's left over? 125%. That's
quick math.
That's what I was just thinking. Like that, the numbers are floating around his head. There you go.
At a presidential level, you'll never, or at a House level, mail-in voting is a total disaster.
It's called many things. Mail-in voting, it is called software fraud, it is called hardware fraud, it is voter fraud, it is electoral fraud. But if I may, Mr. President, the problem here is that you're not just fighting fraud any more than you were just fighting the Russia hoax. That was an effort, not a hoax, to overthrow your presidency. Not a hoax. An outright effort to overthrow the presidency of the United States that went on from the time you won the office to the time right now. The irregularities in this year's election are not just fraud, electoral or voter. They are another attempt to overthrow the President of the United States. And it's being brought to you by the very same people. While you carry out the battle, Mr. President, for the White House, I ask that you also declassify all of the information and documents related to Obamagate, and do it now. It is time the American people know the truth, the full truth, the whole truth. And we cannot trust the Justice Department, the FBI, or any intelligence agency. And even if we cannot ever restore faith in the Justice Department or the FBI, surely we can preserve the right of the American people to know. That is within your control, your power, and I urge you to use it.
Wait, what was Obamagate again? I can't keep it.
Carter Page.
Oh, right. That was, thank you.
Carter Page gate. I mean, I guess maybe Lou Dobbs is just thinking like, I'm going to end up on WorldNet Daily, or I'm going to go, I've got to move over to OWN or whatever it is. Incidentally, speaking of which, what's his face? It went over to was it WorldNet Daily?
Newsmax.
Newsmax.
Yeah.
Halprin.
Yeah.
What? Went to Newsmax?
Mark Halprin is on Newsmax TV.
Wow.
But
they pulled a bunch of I noticed there's a bunch of Fox hosts, very normally Fox hosts, never in the news about anything outrageous.
Daytime Fox hosts.
Daytime.
Yeah,
Moved them over.
Well, now, I mean, here's the question though, is what is, I mean, I guess for Lou Dobbs, the end game is that, but they are pushing the whole Georgia thing in a way that I think is going to, I mean, I know Trump is supposedly going to do some rallies there, but I mean, it just seems like, I don't know, at one point, doesn't it go past rallying the base to go out and vote in Georgia, and it goes to disempowering the base?
Well, I mean, one, I think you're thinking more strategically than even Dobbs is. He is at the end of his career, I would imagine, at his age, and he's a strict authoritarian. So he just responds the most vitriolically that he possibly can, with the most passion to whatever the dear leader says. And that's what he does. And then, but to your point about mobilizing voters, when you call mail-in voting software fraud, by the way, Trump, his daughter, Kayleigh McEnany, all committed software fraud by voting by mail in the past election, but I digress.
Doesn't matter what you call it.
Yeah, I guess, sure. But when you keep calling that form of voting fraud, paired with saying that the outcome doesn't matter because it's all rigged and the Georgia Republicans are in it with Biden and Soros or whatever, those two things might actually depress turnout, because some people, even though Republicans do like to vote in person, there will be a percentage of Republicans or people who might want to vote for the Republican Senate candidates who would be potentially voting by mail who might not now.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just because the thing about Obamagate, out of all the gates that they could have mentioned, I do think this has to do with race too. I think they're trying to gin up the racist support, and this is Georgia, so
right.
if they can't dampen the vote on the Democratic side, the very engaged, now extremely organized African-American base in Georgia, then the alternative is what? Bring out the racists.
I wonder if that works.